Gentlemen, ladies, welcome back. Sandamtod here. Adam, good buddy Pete, Snestastic created a tag for us. Sega versus Nintendo. Sega. Nintendo. Anyway, he's got 5 questions for the tag, and he tagged 3 people. I think a lot of people are doing this as an open tag, and I think it pretty much was, so I don't know that I'm going to tag anybody, but we're going to get rolling on the questions. First question is, who do you prefer, Nintendo or Sega? Well, to be honest, I hate picking favorites, and you guys probably know that by now. But, sorry, there might be a glare on the glasses. I got to leave the computer monitor on. Sega versus Nintendo. It's changed over the years, folks. When I was a kid and I first saw the Nintendo for the first time, I thought it was the greatest thing that could ever be created. But then the amount of problems I had with the original Nintendo over the years kind of really soured my taste for Nintendo to the point where I've told you this before. I didn't buy a Super Nintendo when they came out for almost, a year and a half after they released it. I bought a Genesis, and it had been out for a year. And when I had bought my Sega CD by the point I decided to pick up a Super Nintendo. And not that Super Nintendo fixed a lot of the problems that the first Nintendo had, especially with design and the games. I'll give it to Nintendo. Their games had a better overall sound for sure. Playability was about the same, I felt, as the Genesis. I didn't feel like the playability was any less. And I actually, as far as fighting games and stuff go, which is what I was really into at that time, I preferred the Sega Genesis 6-button controller to the Nintendo controller. But after the Super Nintendo, I didn't buy a Nintendo console for a long time. And what happened was I ended up buying a PlayStation for my next console. PlayStation became my passion, man. I bought a PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. I never even looked at the Dreamcast. I never looked at another Nintendo console until my roommate that I was living with at the time went out and bought a Nintendo 64 out of the blue. I mean, he wasn't even really a gamer, but went out and bought one because he wanted, like, NFL quarterback club or something. He wanted some this-gen sports games because he was more of a sports guy. And he ended up picking up Rogue Squadron, and he picked up Ocarina of Time. And I played through Ocarina of Time on his 64 and beat it before I ever even owned a 64. The only reason I ever even picked one up is because I saw them cheap at the family store, that thrift store I go to. I found one for $5. It was missing a controller, but I went in and picked it up. And then the thing that really deters me from the 64 is the price of the cartridges are still outrageous. And I never liked the controller. I really didn't like it. I mean, even the off-brand ones, I never have found really good Nintendo 64 controller that I really liked. So GameCube, I always thought that I don't know, I just whatever. Anyway, we're way off track, way off. What do I prefer? Pete, damn you. Nintendo. I think there's a lot of reverence for the Sega because of that, because it's not around anymore. There's more of a collector's nostalgia to it, and I think a lot of people are more into that. Nintendo's still here, and people feel like, well, Nintendo's here. It doesn't have that same, I don't know. It just doesn't have that same nostalgia, I guess, for a lot of people. But looking back on it, the 8-bit is what, even with all the shitty-ass problems I had with my 8-bit Nintendo, it's still the one that I said I would collect forever for, so There's question 1 answered in 5.5 minutes. Okay, let's roll. Why do you prefer Sega or Nintendo? I think I just discussed that, so we got that covered. Nintendo just, I don't know, because when I was a kid and it hooked me on it, and I was in my almost, I was getting out of high school before I got a Genesis, so I mean, there you go. What's your favorite system by Nintendo or Sega? You know what they are, folks, and I'll pick them both. I love this Sega Genesis with the CD adapter, the Sega CD, and I love the 8-bit Nintendo. If you're going to twist my arm about generations, I'll pick the 16-bit era, but I still probably prefer the 8-bit Nintendo over the 16-bit Nintendo as far as the catalog of games go and everything. What do I like most about the console? The Nintendo is a sturdy machine. You've got a shitty pin connector, but I've heard of people jumping up and kicking it, backing over with their car. I've heard all sorts of crazy shit, and the thing still works. I mean, it will continue to work. I always thought it was kind of cool that Nintendo took the manufacturing of all the cartridges in-house, so they all were uniform looking, even if they had different stickers on them. I don't know why. I found that very unique and very, I don't know. It just felt like you knew when you were buying Nintendo because everything matched. Why do I like the Sega? Sega is sleek and black and looks really cool on the shelf. Always had nice curves. The Nintendo was a little boxy. Even the Super Nintendo was boxy. The Genesis also, when it first came out, it had the headphone jack right on it. I liked that. I was sad that went in Gen 2, but it did. It just, I don't know. Basically aesthetics for the Genesis, I don't think that it outperformed the Super Nintendo in any way. But like I said, when you come out first, you're going to always be playing catch up to what comes after you, because they're going to have the time to research what you did and make improvements and then release theirs. So even though you came out first, sometimes coming out second isn't a bad thing. And I kind of blazed through a couple of those kind of fast for me. Let me see. Number 5, do you miss the rivalry between game companies? Oh, hell yeah, I do. I remember the Sega does what Nintendo don't. I remember, the commercial with Sonic being the drag car and Mario being the little putt-putt Mario Kart thing. And I felt like it kept companies on their toes and wanting to better their product. I think that's why Mario ended up branching into so many areas like Mario Kart and Mario Tennis and Mario Party and all the different Mario style games, even Smash Brothers. I think that the rivalry spurred that on to happen, and without it, I think it would have been complacency, and I doubt that as many games would have been made. So that's pretty much what I have to say. I think that Sega has its place in history, and because of that, it's got its place in people's hearts. I think sometimes Nintendo doesn't get as much credit as they are due. Look at my room, for Christ's sake. I mean, most of the stuff I have up is Nintendo. I know I got the big Sonic behind me right now, but that's the only. I've got 3 Nintendo banners to that one Sonic banner that's behind me, and all the posters on the wall are Nintendo. And it's just, I love Nintendo, but I don't know. That's my answer. Hope you're digging the Q&A. Hope you're digging this vid, and this little break from it, I guess. So talk to y'all later. Bye.